Oh, good morning, everybody. I'm Jo Webber. I'm the CEO of Million Women Mentors, and I've got my eyes fixed on the chat. It's lovely to see people coming in from all over. I can see the Turkish win. Folks have just joined from Turkey. I know it's a little bit late there. We've got Bossier City, Louisiana, Hammond, Louisiana, Maine, Connecticut, Lockheed Martin coming in this morning. Aerospace education at the Massachusetts Wing Civil Air Patrol. We've got Jenny Kopak, the CEO of Science Olympiad, coming in from Chicago, state chair for MWM Illinois. So it's fabulous to see everybody coming in and joining us. And I want to welcome you all to the 2021 Million Women Mentors Summit. We had hoped to be doing this in person. But you know, best laid plans of mice and men, it didn't quite turn out for us. When I became CEO of Million Women Mentors, which was just over a year ago, I had no idea how much this network would truly mean to me. When I was a young student studying for a PhD in physics, I was in an all-male environment. I was a unicorn and I didn't belong. Today, as my daughter is looking to pursue a career in astrophysics, she sees no barriers to her being able to achieve her goals. So I cannot think of anywhere I would rather be at this moment than right here with you. We are so grateful to every member of our Million Women Mentors network, from our honorary state chairs to the state leaders to the Women in Insurance Initiative, to our partners and members, and our national states chair, Sheila Boyington, for the support and commitment to this work. You know, every piece of this puzzle matters. Putting girls and women on pathways to STEM careers is a complex challenge, and it requires collaboration across boardrooms, classrooms, communities. Our state committees provide a critical platform for connecting efforts and amplifying this message at the state level. I want to thank all our speakers for giving up their time to share their stories today. A common theme I'm hearing this year is that while measurement matters, it is the qualitative, it's the stories that really showcase the impact. Now, as our world strives to create a more level playing field and provide opportunities for all, we at MWM are focused on STEM. We know that STEM careers offer better salaries, better opportunities for being able to be flexible with your schedule, better opportunities for travel. But less than 30% of STEM careers are currently held by women. This is some data from a research paper we produced at the beginning of the year, looking at the state of diversity, equity, and inclusion in STEM. And it's available to all of you through the Atlas platform, which we'll talk about a bit more later. So when you look at this chart, it's showing you women making up 52% of the US population, 40% of those achieving higher degrees in STEM are women, but only 29% actually are in the STEM workforce. So why is this? I think there used to be a misconception that girls are not as good as math and science as boys, and there's a couple of things wrong with that. First, it's not true, it's fake news. And the second one is that really, even if you don't like math, high-level math skills are really not needed for that many jobs these days. What looks more likely is that girls are often interested in STEM careers in middle school. And there was a recent survey, I think it was 2020, in Turkey, which showed the numbers were exact, a big survey of middle school kids in Turkey, and that boys and girls were equally interested in STEM careers. But at some point during high school or college, the girls drop out. Now, for 50 years, we've been asking students in middle and high schools to draw a scientist. I think many of you know about this. And here you can see some of the more recent creations. Boys overwhelmingly draw a male scientist, often with crazy hair. Not something that's very aspiring for young girls. You can also see from the chart on the right, the column chart, that in the early days, pretty scary, but females would draw a male scientist as well. Now today, over the years, we can see that that's really improving, and much more women see themselves and see females as role models in science careers. When we launched Million Women Mentors in 2014, it was a movement. The idea was to draw attention to mentoring as an essential strategy for advancing women in STEM. With over 2 million not million women mentors, 2 million women mentors, with over 2 million mentor matches in the first 5 years, I would say that MWM has become far more than a movement. It's an imperative. We are a network. Together, we have raised the awareness and elevated the conversation around women in STEM. And we've become the premier network of organizations dedicated to encouraging girls and women in the world to pursue, persist, and succeed in STEM careers. Now, this raising of the profile of women has also had a great impact on Generation Z boys. I happen to have one of those in my house. I'm a soccer coach, and when I told my under-10 boys team that they were going to scrimmage with the girls team, one of the boys said to me, "Oh no, they'll kill us." I asked why, and he said, "Because they'll be better than us." And the rest of the boys agreed with him. I actually found that astounding, that the expectation that a 10-year-old girls soccer team would be better than a 10-year-old boys soccer team. But of course they were right. The girls did beat us. They beat us 3-1, mostly because at that age, the girls will actually pass the ball, something the boys don't. As you know, Pod and Million Women Mentors merged last year, and we've been busy looking at how we can bring technology to bear to help with the goals of Million Women Mentors on a national and global basis. And today we'll be showing Atlas, a little bit later on, our new technology platform to designed just to do that. It's currently in beta test, and it's going to be in full release a little bit later this year. It's available everywhere the internet is available, making it a truly global platform. And it's designed to work well in mobile communities, mobile environments as well. I would encourage you all to join today. I think Kylie sent out instructions about how to get on Atlas. Please get an account, start posting. By getting your feedback, we can improve it. One of the first communities to use Atlas will be MWM Pakistan, and we'll be hearing from Radhika Prabhu about that a little bit later today. Now, a new international chapter of MWM was launched earlier this year, MWM Turkey, under the direction of Umran Baber, and with great assistance from Melik Palatkanak of Turkish Win. The model used to bring up this network makes use of the experience and wisdom of Turkish Win, and we are keen to draw on this experience and help other international chapters come to life and thrive. We believe the new Atlas platform will help us grow and provide structure to the MWM network globally, providing much needed discovery. I think most of you are aware that up to 75% of jobs are never posted. They just get moved from people's networks. And often women and minorities have weaker networks. So with Atlas, we're trying to provide a level playing field, a platform where we can share mentorship opportunities, internships, co-op opportunities, jobs, and so on to people all over the world. Now, Dr. Zyker will be presenting our 2021 keynote research a little bit later on this morning on corporate mentoring. This presentation will describe the 5 essential stages that are key to developing a workplace mentoring program. And this will be followed by a panel presentation that will provide insights about 3 successful workplace models that have been implemented at Intel, Northwest Mutual, and MEMIC. This paper is available to members and attendees through Atlas. Now, earlier this year, Olay ran a very engaging program to showcase their female scientists to an audience of 1,000 high school girls across 45 states. Again, we know that often around age 15, 16, girls tend to fall out of STEM educations and out of pursuing a STEM career. I was thrilled to be part of this very uplifting experience with Olay and the girls, and I'm equally thrilled that we have one of the scientists, Tori Moore, with us today. Now, with that, I'd like to hand over to our National States Chair, Sheila Boyington. Thank you, Sheila.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much, Joe, for that amazing introduction to what is going to be a great few hours for all of you. So, as most people who have been to a Million Mentor Summit know that I get a tremendous honor of being with the lieutenant governors and other honorary chairs that we have had with Million Mentors across the years. Like Joe, I wish we were in person, but I'm thrilled that we get to really do something really unique today. So if I can have all of you turn on your cameras, that will be great. This is unique. So every year we do get to have these honorary chairs, but this year our honorary chairs are all STEM women. Let me say that again. They are all STEM women. We have some rock stars. So these are women that are leading charges for STEM and technology and computer science in their states. And we could not be more grateful for them sharing their time. So first off, I'm just going to quickly introduce them, and then we have some questions, and we're going to let them do most of the talking. But I'd love to first introduce you to Lieutenant Governor Bethany Hall-Long. Those of you that were at our summit a couple of years ago when we were in person got to see her in person, and she is a dynamo. So she's a true STEM woman, a PhD in nursing, professor, you name it, she's done it. She's led a lot of efforts in Delaware for STEM, and we are grateful for your leadership. Second, my friend, Representative Celeste Davis from South Carolina. She too is another dynamo in computer science and IT, a very, very successful career in the energy sector. And she is based in South Carolina, and again, working with Governor Henry McMaster on strategies around more girls and women in STEM has really been part of her charge. Last, but certainly not least, but I met you last, but now we're kindred sisters as well, Senator Sharon Hewitt. Very near and dear to my heart. She has worked in the petroleum industry with Shell, and she's a mechanical engineer. I asked her if she was chemical like me, but she's mechanical, but we're all really thrilled to be engineers and be talking about this. And you're going to get to hear from Senator Hewitt how she has really led the charge in the state of Louisiana, and they've come on really with a big bang with their Lost STEM. So just welcome, ladies. If you guys want to unmute yourselves, really want to make this a conversation and hear from you all today. So I think, the fact that I said, okay, all of you are STEM women, I would love for each of you to kind of take a moment and share with us a little bit about, because this is about empowering younger women and really girls to consider STEM. And I think you guys are great examples of where this could take you. So I'd love to hear from each of you about how you felt STEM, being a STEM woman, has helped lead you to where you are today. So let's start with you, Lieutenant Governor.
Great. Thank you all for having me. It's always a pleasure. Sorry for a little laryngitis. I was actually out with a lot of young children and adults talking about STEM over the weekend in a big room without a microphone, and here I have my voice. But I want to say STEM has made a huge difference, both politically and a policy way for me. And for those listening in, whether it's engineering, technology, whether it's math and science, or as myself in the health professions, really can make a difference. It brought me to the dance. It brought me to the table of politics, being a nurse, understanding not only the scientific components, but the human side, the art of the abilities to take care of individuals. And so working in the community, understanding the underserved and the needs, my STEM background has been really forefront. Chairing, once I was elected in the House and the Senate in Delaware, I have used my knowledge on every committee, and I'm sure we're going to hear from my colleagues, both in the southern parts of our country, in South Carolina, Louisiana, I'm sure the same. Whether we're chairing transportation, looking at an agriculture measure, whether we're looking at bringing industry to our states, as I have in the executive role, we have to be able to articulate what pathway. And so for me personally, being a nurse, being in a STEM field, brought me to the table of an interest in running to take care of bigger issues. Instead of just one person at a time, I could take care of a population. So to those listening in who like to be advocates, whether you run for office or work with one of us or work in policy and the regulatory side, please get involved in policy and politics with your STEM background. It is priceless.
Great. Thank
Thanks.
you so much. So how about you, Representative Davis?
Well, thank you for having me here today. I'm always excited to be a part of STEM. I will say that a STEM education will take you lots of places you never imagined it would. With a math degree, I had a computer science background and really never imagined myself as a politician or as an elected official. But I will say that it's a very interesting time right now because we're seeing an intersection between government and government policy and technology all day, every day. We're seeing it with Bitcoin and those digital currencies. We're seeing it, of course, with the response to COVID. We're seeing it with autonomous vehicles. There are so many examples of what's going on today and how that ties into a knowledge, a STEM knowledge, and a background in STEM. You know, one of the first things I did when I was first elected to the South Carolina House of Representatives was work with a group of people to create a STEM education day. I just thought it was very important to highlight what our students are doing and really sort of emphasize the importance of a STEM education. And so STEM Education Day from the first year that I was elected has now turned into a STEM Education Month. And I'm just so excited about all of the opportunities and all of the involvement that we're seeing. So those of you who are out there, yes, please continue to stay involved and know that your STEM education and your career is going to pay off.
Wonderful. Great points too. So yes, from you, Senator Hewitt, tell us a little bit about your journey.
Well, thanks, Sheila. And it's such an honor to be with these other two ladies and all the leaders that are on the line today. So thank you for having me. You know, my journey has been kind of unique. You know, I've told you this story, Sheila. I did graduate from LSU in mechanical engineering and went to work for Shell. And the training program back in the day, this is the early 80s, was for all new engineers to spend your first year on an offshore drilling rig. And there really weren't women offshore on drilling rigs back in the day. And so for most people, you know, I was the first female they had ever seen. And they certainly didn't want to make things too easy for me. And so, you know, fast forward over, you know, a 20-year career, when I left the workforce, and I left because our third grader did not know his multiplication tables, and I felt like I needed to come home and be more of a mom. But when I left, I was managing, you know, billions of dollars of Shell's deep water Gulf of Mexico business. About 10% of the country's production, you know, came through my area. And I ultimately, after being home and doing all the PTA work and the volunteer work that moms do and to make our schools better, I decided to run for office. And I don't have any politicians in my family, but ran because I believed our state was on the wrong path and that we needed some good problem solvers. And so I do think my STEM career has prepared me now to serve in the Louisiana State Legislature. We do need good problem solvers. We need critical thinkers. We certainly need people that can speak in Louisiana to the oil and gas industry. And so that is part of my responsibility, is to help advocate for that industry that's been the bread and butter for Louisiana for very many years. And I think that, you know, my background in the corporate world allowed me to be around some fabulous leaders, and the opportunity to work beside them, and of course to learn from them and to have opportunities to develop my own leadership skills directly translates. And then of course the most obvious thing is just having worked in a male-dominated field. And in our state, we only have about 17% of our legislators are female. And so it is still kind of a good old boy network, both in the legislature as it was in the oil and gas days. And so, you know, there's a different way that I think you can succeed in a male-dominated field. And so I think all of those skills that I developed and learned in my professional life have directly translated into my work in the legislature.
Yes, so true. I mean, I know I've told this story before, but in Tennessee, when I came here out of graduate school as an engineer, I was first told I cannot go to the job site because the guys on the job site are not going to recognize a woman and a woman of color as an engineer. So my boss pretty much said, you're not going to the site. So I feel your pain with that whole male dominated. And I do have to give a shout out to my sister who got her PhD in Louisiana in computer science, worked in the oil and gas industry too. And now she spends the bulk of her time really mentoring and helping young students, particularly with math. Apparently she's so good that she's like overrun with people calling her at 10 o'clock at night to get math help. So I think, there's lots of ways that we can all play into this to grow more women in STEM. And I think, MWM Mentors for me has just been something I think has been part of my mission since I was a young child. I tell everybody, my dad was an engineer, so I'm a good Indian daughter, became an engineer, but I never knew where it was going to take me. And so I think, for as we're continuing this conversation, talking about MWM Mentors and a little bit about, what this movement and now network has meant to your state, but really and also connecting it to the economy, because this is not just about equality, right? We want the numbers to be equal, which they're not, but we also want the economics to be equal as well, where we know women earn much less than men in all jobs, even though they're a little closer in STEM. But I'd love to hear maybe starting with you first, Celeste, and telling us a little bit about why you think MWM Mentors is important in South Carolina, and where do you see it having an impact on your economy?
Well, bottom line is that we need more students, more people getting into the job force that have that sort of analytical skill background, like Senator Hewitt was talking about earlier. We need problem solvers. We need people who are analytical. And here in the state of South Carolina, we've become somewhat of a hub for manufacturing. And we're being more known now for our pharmaceutical industry as well. And as we know, manufacturing and pharmaceuticals is all STEM related. We've got some very large companies here in South Carolina. We have BMW, we have Volvo, we have Google, we have Mercedes-Benz. And so, any work that we can do here in the state of South Carolina to encourage young people, girls and boys, any measures that we can take to get them more involved and to help see themselves in that job. And I think that's a very important point, is that our students have to be able to see themselves in those jobs. So the more we can do there, the better we are economically.
Everybody has to one time say you're on mute during a Zoom, right? You didn't say it, but I was. So anyway, Senator Hewitt, how about you in terms of Louisiana, and a little bit about how you see this impacting your economy?
Well, it's huge. We've had a number of equal pay bills in Louisiana. Perhaps you all have had too. And so I've looked at the research on this, and there are studies that show, and the number varies a little bit every year, but that women get paid like 80 cents on the dollar compared to men. But when you really drill down on the details of that, it is not comparing the exact same job that a man does versus a female. It's looking at the median salary of a female and the median salary of a man and comparing those two. The big difference is that the careers that women are choosing tend not to be in the higher paid STEM fields. They are more teaching, social work, daycare, things like that, where the men are predominantly choosing the engineering and computer science fields, et cetera. And so for me, it has a great economic benefit to have more women in STEM, because they will, by choosing those higher paid careers, they will better be able to close the pay gap. They will better be able to provide for their families. And of course, that translates to higher tax revenues for the states as people are paying their income taxes. So there's certainly a benefit when I wear my state hat. And so it's an easy sell for me. It benefits all of us to have more women in STEM. And I think MWM Mentors is a great vehicle for doing that. And to Representative Davis's point, we need to have more women to allow the young girls in junior high that are losing interest in math and science to see that there are careers for them other than just being a math or a science teacher, which is what I thought I was going to do, until I realized my mom was a teacher, my dad was an engineer. I realized that my dad made a lot more money than my mom did. And so I switched, but it's opening up the eyes of the young girls so they see what the possibilities are.
You're exactly right. And actually AAUW did a study and it showed that girls want career paths where we're helping people. And so to your point, a lot of those fields include teaching or, social work, even healthcare. And I think one of the things that's lacking is helping girls go all the way to the finish line to show them being an engineer or being in tech or being in, a professor and teaching technology and things like that actually does help society. But we don't always show the girls that, particularly at early enough age. So I know, Lieutenant Governor, like you have really had tremendous success in your state, kind of moving the needle a little bit on having programs that directly address this. So I'd love to hear a little bit more because you've probably been involved with Million Mentors the longest on this panel. And so, share a little bit about the impact in Delaware.
Absolutely. And I just am marveling at the work of Representative Davis and Senator Hewitt. Wow, what an incredible career path that each of them has had and the impact. First in South Carolina, talking about the businesses and the workforce, and then to the senator and her personal story and the choices and the options that she has had. Million Women Mentors has really been a huge player in the state of Delaware. And our committee of 100, which is top executive and business planning, actually Ms. Knecht probably is listening in today. She leads our Delaware's Million Women Mentors Initiative, and she's part of our STEM Council. And many of them I know are listening today. We have really been able to have an impact in the economy. Biopharmaceuticals, as mentioned, I know Representative Davis, you talked about that as well, but also the whole manufacturing and also really important investing monies. This year, we not only last week with the governor announced $50 million that we're putting in directly into our pathways to success for young children with STEM initiatives and work, but we're also really making sure that we are innovative. Like the other states, we all try to do this. I know as the immediate past chair of the National Lieutenant Governors Association, we all talk about, how we can have the best economy, the best education system. In the area that I have been drilling down in, particularly during COVID, as you can imagine, a research scientist in population health, it's been a long 19 months of trying to do the best at the forefront. But like my colleagues, Million Women Mentors is so important in equity. We talk about a third of women, but let's drill it down. It is even lower among our communities of color. So for young women who are African-American, Latino, Asian, it's so important that we stand up and have this organization nationally in this association to have others who look like them to proceed and to benefit. So Million Women Mentors has been incredibly helpful in developing the pipeline, in educating teachers to make sure that we are conscientious of equity and that we bring the brightest and best. And so in Delaware, not only biopharma, but we just opened at our flagship institution at the University of Delaware, a large center around biopharm, but we also are going to be opening in January one of the nation's best and first major hubs for research and innovation in fintech. So again, young women have those opportunities, and it's up to each of us here to ensure that we have that equity addressed as well. And so that is a highlight. I know in Delaware, small geographic state, where we are able to do that probably a little more easily than some of the more large geographic states.
Yes. I did want to also note that each of you strategically have some placement of a map of Delaware, LSU helmet, and a Gamecock skating up there. So good job on that. Of course, I have product placement too, my Learning Blade back there. So we're all shameless about what we're trying to do, but we do it with such a great heart. And I think to that point, Senator Hewitt, like this last year has been incredible for the state of Louisiana under your leadership with La STEM. It's really gotten kicked off and moved, even though I think you had the legislation, took some time to really get it formulated. So I'd love to hear, like, you know, why did you do this? What motivated you, and what are some of the results that you're seeing?
Well, thank you, Sheila. Yeah, I did create the La STEM Advisory Council 5 years ago now, legislatively, and I looked at many of your states. Iowa, in particular, was a state that I looked at as a model in terms of bringing more STEM focus to their state. You know, we were facing a $2 billion budget deficit, and so again, I began thinking about, you know, how can you increase the revenue in our state without increasing taxes? And one way to do that is when you have people that are employed in higher wage jobs. You know, we also were looking at some out migration type numbers, and we were losing, you know, many of the students that we were training at LSU and other fine universities were going to work in other states. And so I started out focused on wanting to make sure that we had good, high-paying jobs in Louisiana for Louisiana citizens. And I wanted our companies and our employers to hire Louisiana graduates. And so STEM was an easy thing to do. And so we created the La STEM Advisory Council with the idea that we have a statewide initiative where we are looking at what skill sets do the industries in our state need, what are the future jobs, the future skills, whether it's cybersecurity or aerospace or oil or maritime. You know, we're blessed with many technology-oriented industries in our state. And we wanted to make sure that we were providing that skilled education opportunity for our students. And so that's what it's all about. And we have worked with groups like Learning Blade, Sheila, to give us some products and some things that make learning fun for our students. We have many partnerships with Chevron and Boeing and NASA, First Robotics, where we're providing very rich opportunities for our students that are directly meeting the needs of our employers. And so La STEM Advisory Council has been exciting. You know, every year it gets better and better. And we certainly appreciate other states that have had a focus on STEM and giving us a little bit of a roadmap on how to do it.
Yeah, wonderful. And it is great to work with many that you have in the state and how much they care about what they're doing. And similar to you, Representative Davis, you know, there are only 3 states right now that are requiring computer science in high school. You are one of the 3, Arkansas, and actually I don't remember the other one, but great states that we are, you know, that understand the importance of this education as a framework and really as a sort of what they need as some of the generic skills. Just graduating, all jobs take some tech. So tell us a little bit about like your work in the legislature and how you've tried to promote, you know, more women and girls in STEM through some of the policy and efforts that you've led as well in South Carolina.
Well, I will say that education to career pipeline is critical. We want to make sure that our students are educated and getting the skill set that they need to take the jobs, especially the higher tech jobs, higher paying jobs that are coming into our state. So that is a critical point. I'm very happy that we do have that computer science requirement, but we've also filed some legislation and it passed the House. It's sitting over in the Senate. We're waiting on them to act on that next year, but we've passed some legislation that creates a computer science education plan for the state K through 12. I am a firm believer that we could start our students very, very early on and teaching them analytical skills. And in fact, I use, and you ladies will understand this, I use the example of a baby. If you put a baby in a high chair and give them an object that they've never seen before, right? They take it, they turn it over and look at it, they shake it, they bite it, and then they throw it. And that's part of that analytical process that's innate in humans, and we're born with that. And so what we need to do is capture that early on, and instead of teaching it out of our children, use that as a springboard and start teaching those computer science skills very, very early on. So I'm a proponent for that, and I'm going to be pushing to try to get that passed in January.
Hey, I'm stealing that baby in the high chair example. I'm gonna use that on my next
I've seen
webinar.
that a lot.
I mean, that's pretty cool because you're exactly right. You
Yeah.
know, I think what Dr. Weber Joe said at the beginning, you know, you get two teams out there, boys and girls, and you know, they're different already at the beginning, but they're very capable. And so we just continue to pigeonhole, particularly girls, you know, and kind of a process that doesn't move them necessarily into, you know, into the type of careers that we're talking about. Lieutenant Governor Hall Long, and I do want to give like a shout out definitely to Lieutenant Governor and now Governor Kim Reynolds. She was our first honorary chair for Million Women Mentors 7 years ago. She came to the first summit, and she's been really an advocate for women and girls in STEM in Iowa, as you mentioned, and even beyond. And so, you know, just always want to recognize her. And there are many, many others who have stepped into this role and leading their state. And, you know, this isn't about politics, which I love. We haven't even talked about that. This is about life. And so, you know, we just appreciate all of you using sort of your platform to amplify this important message. So, Lieutenant Governor, I think we all recognize women have been disproportionately impacted by this pandemic, hands down. You know, I know having young mothers who work for our company, and, you know, when the world shut down, they were at home and trying to work and trying to make sure their kids didn't cut off their arm when they're in the kitchen, and, you know, just a whole bunch of host of things that mothers had to deal with, and women in general. So I think, you know, kudos to you for starting your behavioral health work. And I think, you know, talk a little bit about that, because I think this is more than just, you know, just everybody going to STEM, but they need the mindset and the ability and the support from the sort of the resources around them to move forward in that.
Great. Well, thank you. It has been an honor to be co-chair with Governor Reynolds as well. And I've enjoyed so much the panel today. I cannot believe we're at the end. I'm like, oh my goodness, how does this go so quickly? But what a delight. And you are spot on that, you know, the pandemic does not discriminate against those of us in our gender, our zip code, or across our communities. However, we have seen the greatest impact, certainly on communities with most insecurity, socioeconomic challenges, which is a disproportionate number of communities of color. And then certainly we've had that real impact, as I know my representative and Senate colleagues across the country have witnessed for women. Not every state was as fortunate. Delaware, we were able to continue to keep open with our construction industry or childcare industry. But I witnessed, as the chair of the National Lieutenant Governor Association and through my honorary co-chair of the Million Women Mentors, many women, a third of women, did not remain employed, 4 to 5 times more challenging due to childcare or the type of work that they were doing, frontline work, hospitality industry, and the real impact that has had both on their pocketbook, their economics, but also their heart, their social well-being, and their emotional well-being. And each of us across this country has witnessed anxiety and depression, suicide, ideation, and things among our youth and women increase. And so I've been pleased to have been leading as a public health nurse, the Behavioral Health Consortium in our state that covers cradle to grave, not just substance use disorder, but also the challenges of having an adult family member perhaps at home who's suffering from dementia, or the child who couldn't go to childcare. The greatest burden fell on women. And so that's why it has been really important that we provide resources, both social and emotional, 24/7, but also that we have in place for the future preparation. And that's what today is about, preparing the next generation, having mentors and women, such that we have a financial situation in place both in our state and the support system, but that women also are in those jobs that afford them the ability to continue in employment or entrepreneurship when we are faced with a major epidemic, pandemic, or other crises in our communities in the future. So it's been a privilege and an honor, a lot of work around mental and behavioral health, more so as we come out of the COVID pandemic. So kudos to the Million Women Mentors and the sponsor, many sponsors, and many of you who recognize the incredible value of women having that solid opportunity and our young women across this country. So thank you for that. And I'm able to stay with you a couple more minutes.
Well, we're happy. Yes.
Special session in the legislature here in Delaware.
Well, great. Yes, thank you so much. And thank you to each of you. I mean, this was an inspiring and really motivational way to start the summit. And we're just so excited because, you know, so many of you, you've used your platform to communicate the importance of this. Many honorary chairs that we've had over the years. And I would be totally remiss if I did not mention your amazing state volunteer leaders and chairs who have become really like a family. And we are so grateful to each and every one of them because they have really been the foundation of this movement. So I'll give a shameless plug for the state session that's coming up later on today, where we are going to actually have Jennifer from Delaware. We're going to have Trisha Berry from Texas, and we're going to have Carol and Assisi from Connecticut. They're all going to share really sort of nuts and bolts about what they're doing in their states around Million Women Mentors. But I just want to be on behalf of Million Mentors, the team, Dr. Weber, you know, everybody, just thank each and every one of you. Just so grateful for the time that you spend and for your insightful remarks today. Now, I am really excited to pass it over to my friend, Cindy Zeiker. Cindy and I have known each other for a long time. I tell you, this is just STEM women, STEM women, STEM women. I mean, we started with Joe, we had this group, now we have Dr. Zyker, who is I'm a big fan of when she's worked at SRI, and now she's leading research for STEM Connector and Million Women Mentors, and has connected me to lots of people across the country as well in STEM. So it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Cindy Zeiker, who's going to share some very exciting news around mentoring research that STEM Connector and Million Mentors are doing. So thanks again to Senator Hewitt, Representative Davis, and Lieutenant Governor Bethany Hall Long. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.